really focused on this call right now. So
Yeah. Amazing. Well, happy Saturday, everybody. Thank you so much for popping on here. Lisa, I'm gonna get you started. So I'm gonna introduce you, and then
okay.
I will focus on the waiting room. So don't you worry about anything of that.
Perfect.
But anyways, Lisa, thank you so much for joining us and offering to do this. I feel like this is an important topic all the time, but I feel like it's especially important right now because our mindsets are really being challenged. It's very challenging right now to stay optimistic and positive and hopeful, but it is possible. So I look forward to having you share everything. And for anybody that doesn't know Lisa, she's a friend of mine. She's hilarious. She's so warming. She's so easy to talk to. I like how you laugh at that. And she's a mom mentor. So she basically is on a mission to help moms find boundary and happiness as being a mom. So Lisa, I'll let you take it from there. You can kind of introduce yourself a little bit more, and then we can get right into the topic.
Amazing. First of all, hi, everybody. So I can't believe there's so many amazing people here today at 8 a.m. in the morning. I'm feeling super #blessed that you all showed up here. So as Ashley said, I'm Lisa. I'm a mom mentor and self-care coach. And what I do is I provide moms the tools that they need to kind of feel empowered, not only in their motherhood journey, but in their regular day-to-day life. A little bit of my background, I have a BA honors degree in psychology. I knew that I wanted to get into the world of health, but I didn't know what that looked like. So I got into the marketing corporate world instead. And it wasn't until I had my first son, Oliver, I suffered from postpartum depression. And I kind of realized that there was this, I felt like there was this really significant lack in care for new moms and moms on their journey in general. So last year I started this mentoring journey, excuse me, and it's just kind of turned into this really amazing, beautiful thing. And I like the fact that a year ago, if you told me that I'd be sitting here and there was 30, 40 some odd women listening to my talk, I would have been like, yeah, that's hilarious. That's not happening. So yeah, so thank you. I can't even tell you how much it means to me that you're here. Okay, so before we get into all of the mindset stuff, one thing that I do want to kind of talk about is mindset is just kind of one piece of the puzzle of bettering your mental health, bettering how you feel about yourself. I'm by no means implying by this talk that if you're anxious, if you're depressed, you can't just think yourself out of it. That's not what I want to achieve in this talk. This is just one tool that you can use to kind of reach complete holistic wellness. So wanted to say that this is by no means a substitute for therapy or anything like that. Okay, so let's dig into mindset. So who here, and I'm gonna have to scroll through the screen to see everybody, but who here is kind of feeling overwhelmed right now? Yeah, samesies, yeah. samesies. You know, it's funny because I think this time has really, I mean, I've felt overwhelmed in my life at numerous times, but I think that I had this, when all of this COVID stuff started, I was like, wow, there are so many things going on right now. Not only am I taking care of my family, my job, my everything, there's a pandemic happening. And I just kind of had to take a step back and I was like, what do I need to do for myself right now? What is the healthiest thing that I can do to help myself get over this really deep funk that I'm in? Because, you know, I don't know about you, but I've just it's been like this the whole time through this whole COVID situation. I'll get to a point where I'm like, actually, I think I'm okay with this. And then I'm like, and crash and burn. And I'm like, I'm terrified, I'm crying. And my husband's like, what's happening? So these are everything that I'm sharing with you today are tools that I've implemented myself. So I'm a big believer in walking the walk. So everything that I'm telling you, I have tried on myself. The other important thing to know about this talk is there's a lot of information that I'm going to throw at you. And so what I'd like for you to do is, as you're listening, find the thing that resonates with you the most. Because I think a lot of the times we go to these kinds of seminars, we go to these workshops, and you get all this information. You're like, amazing, I can't wait to implement it. I'm going to do all of this stuff. And then you're like, oh my God, that's too many things. And then you don't do it. So I want you to pick one thing that really feels good for you and feels like a logical next step, and do that. And then, yeah, so, and you know, the tips that I'm talking about today as well, I want you to think about them not just during COVID, but beyond that, and how you can implement them in your life after all this kind of chaos and craziness has passed, hopefully. Okay, so let's talk about mindset and why it's so important. The thing is, in order for you to believe in actually doing something or doing the work, you need to believe in what you're doing. So when I started to dig into this mindset work, I had to do some research, because as I'm very well versed in the world of mental health. I've been in therapy for 10 years, coaching, like I've been doing a lot of self-work, but the mindset piece was kind of a weird one for me. Like it felt like it fit into the mental health thing, but I was also kind of like, in a way, it kind of felt, for lack of a better term, like it felt woo-woo to me, which is a whole world I'm exploring right now, and I'm loving it. But at the time I was having a hard time with it. So I had to do some research. I like to know that there's facts behind the stuff that I'm doing. So think about this. You have your brain, right? Literally every single thing that you do in your life comes from your mind. Whatever you're talking about, whatever you're doing, whatever you're saying, whatever you're, everything starts in your mind, right? So when I was digging into it, I was like, wow, okay, so scientifically speaking, even just starting to think about and paying attention to the way that you're acting, believing, thinking, the words that you're saying to yourself, all of that, once you start paying attention to that, it actually really just helps to even start to alter your moods and the way that you think. Yes, so it's kind of one of those things where it's like all about little tiny baby steps. And I'm going to get into that a little bit more at the end. The other thing to note about mindset work is that it takes work. It takes a lot of work. And, you know, it can be very hard and overwhelming at times, because our brain has the natural tendency to just want to go back to our old habits because it's easier. Even if it makes us more miserable than it would if we were actually to do the work, our brain's like, I'm too tired right now. I don't really want to deal with this. So you will kind of find some resistance as you start to do this work, because the subconscious loves to keep us comfortable. It's its favorite place, even if it makes us unhappy. So, and then the other thing too is that, you know, it's ongoing. So I used to be a very black or white person. It was like, I could either do it all or I wouldn't do it at all. And I would either do it, and if it didn't if it didn't change my life instantly, I'd be like, nah, fuck it, I'm not going to bother. And it's hard to, you know, it's important to realize that the best analogy that I could come up with was related to food, because food is life. And it's kind of like eating, right? You don't just have one meal and that sets you for the rest of life. You need to eat meals 3 times a day to sustain yourself. You need to try new recipes to see what food you like and don't like. Sometimes you make a new recipe and it tastes like crap and you're like, oh, all right, that didn't work. Let's try a different one. So mindset work is the very same. It's not one size fits all. It's not, you know, something that works for you right now might not work for you in 6 months. So it's important to recognize that it's ongoing, which I know can feel very overwhelming, but it's actually, you're going to roll your eyes at me, but actually once you dig into it, it's actually kind of exciting. And finding things that work, and finding things that like, hey, that actually feels fucking awesome. I'm a badass. And you're like, whoa, did I just say that about myself? So I'm hoping that through all of this, you guys can pull out some of those tools and implement them. Yes, and like I said, this is a lot of information. I haven't even gotten into my tips yet. And please take one thing away that just feels good to you. And start small. Okay. Sound good? Everybody thumbs up. Yeah. Good. You with me so far? Amazing. Okay. I'm just going to take a sip one time. Okay. So tips for building a better mindset during an overwhelming time. But like I said, these tips can be implemented beyond COVID. Okay, so I have 3 buckets that I put all my tips into. The first one is clarity. The second one are the strategies. The second one is the strategies. And the third one is implementation. So first of all, clarity. In order to be successful in any goal, you have to get crystal clear on what you want to achieve. So I think in the little chat, you can put like a little hands up, or you can just put your hands up. Tell me if you've gone to achieve a goal and got so overwhelmed by it or didn't know what you were doing, so you dropped it and let it go. Yeah, same. Okay, so let's talk goals. And I know that, you know, goals are a big part of every part of life. Like, it's not just for mindset, but I want to speak to kind of clarity on mindset work. So for example, when you're thinking about how you want to better your mindset, you want to say, okay, like for example, a vague goal would be, I want to be happy. Great. So do I. So does everybody. I think that that's a really, it's a great goal, but it's very vague, because happy could look like a humongous variety of different things. So a little bit more of a clear goal would be, I want to improve my mood because I'm feeling very negative and down. I know that by doing this, I will be a happier, healthier person, and that will radiate to the people around me. Do you see the difference there? Yeah, amazing. And sorry, at this point, I do want to jump in and say, at the end of this workshop, you're all going to be getting a workbook. So all of this information is actually in that workbook as well. So yeah, go ahead, Ash.
I was just going to say, I'm actually going to be putting the link in our notes, which I can do right now as you're speaking, and then everyone can save that onto their computer.
Perfect. So yeah, so you don't, all of this is in there too. And all of these exercises that I'm talking about are in that workbook. So you don't have to worry about like remembering every single thing that I talked about. Okay. So the other thing is that the goal has to make sense for you. I don't know about you, but especially as I became a mom, I got really tied up in the way that I should be doing things. People told me, you know, you should be sleep training this way, or you should be doing this for yourself. You should be doing that. And so I tried all of these different things, and I felt so discouraged because none of them were working for me. But I was like, but this is what I should be doing. Why doesn't it make sense for me? And it wasn't until like really recently that I was like, hang on a second. I don't need to do what people say I should be doing unless it makes sense for me. So as you're going through this workbook and you're thinking about your goals, try and remove what you think you should be feeling, doing, saying, and what feels good at your core. Checking into yourself is actually one of the most important things that you can do, but one of the hardest, because we're buried underneath layers and layers and layers of expectations of others, of society, of ourselves. And it's hard to kind of dig through all of those. So as you're working through your goals, think about what you actually want to achieve. So I have 5 questions that I like to ask myself when I'm working through a goal. Number 1, where is the area I'm struggling the most with my mindset? So I'm going to use example for me from this week. I kind of had a bit of a breakdown earlier because I was too overwhelmed with everything that I had put on my plate. So I'm going to use that example as I go through all of these questions. So again, where is one area where you're struggling with your mindset? So example, feeling overwhelmed by all that I have to do and never feel like I do enough. Hands up if you felt that before. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that's number 1. Number 2, what about this is causing me the biggest issues? For me, I run myself ragged and I always end up hitting a wall and having a breakdown. This is a pattern I've done my whole entire life. Like high school, I've always done this. And every time I think it's going to be a little bit different, and it never is, because it's the same pattern and nothing changes if nothing changes. So question 3, by working on this area of my mindset, what am I hoping to achieve? So for me, I want to be able to balance the work that I need to do while also learning how to rest. Number 4, why do you think it's important to achieve this? And for me, if I feel this way, I'm showing up for myself and for my family. But I want to say the most important part of this is I want to start showing up for myself. Like I can't tell you how much peace I've come to by just like not putting the needs of others and putting mine first and showing up for myself. And I know that this is nothing revolutionary, but sometimes you need to hear it 7,000 times before it really sticks. And for me, this week, it really stuck for me. And then number 5, the final question, what do you have to lose by not doing this work? And this is the big important one, because I think it's easy to go, okay, yeah, these are all the things that I want to do, but I don't know if it's really like, it feels kind of selfish. I'm not really sure if this is what I want to do, but think about it. So for me, by not doing the work on my mindset, I was doing, again, not only a disservice to myself, but to my family. I'm not a happy person when I'm burnt out. I'm not showing up for my husband in our marriage when I'm burnt out. I'm not feeling good about myself. I'm not happy. And all of those things are really like, when you write them out, and it's important to write them out, not just think them. When you're writing them out, you're like, shit, yeah, no, I have actually quite a bit to lose if I don't take this time for myself. Any questions so far? No, good, amazing. Okay, so finally, I think it's very important, again, like any goal, to have clarity on what success looks like for you. Because again, unless we have these benchmarks, we can do all of the things, but not really know if it was successful. And then you're kind of like, well, I did all this work, but I don't even know if it was worth it. And it kind of makes you feel like, pfft. So that's the medical term, by the way. So for me, success looks like managing the mental load, prioritizing tasks, being present with my family, being present for myself, and feeling a more consistent level of happiness more regularly. Cool? Does that sound good? Yeah, awesome. So in the journal or in the workbook that that Ashley just put the link for, I have a whole page that is meant to set your baseline, because that's another crucial part of achieving any goal, is having like something to bump up your success against. Because sometimes when you're making like super tiny changes, it's hard to see the difference right away. So in your baseline, there's some questions in there. Answer those questions and write down where you are with your mood, with where your thoughts are, with where your mindset is. And then in a couple of months, go back to that and you're like, I'm not really sure if I've made any progress. And you read that part of your journal and you're like, whoa, I've actually I feel better. So that's the last part of the clarity piece. Okay. Yeah. Good. Amazing. Told you, I know it's a lot of information. Like, great. I'll go do that right now. Okay. So bucket number 2, here are the strategies for so you've gotten clear, you know where you want to go, you know what you want to do, you know what you want to achieve. So here are some of the strategies that I've used that have really helped me to take myself from this kind of like, I don't want to say sad, but like hurt, like emotional area, and then into a more happier mindset. Okay. And as we're writing through as I'm talking through these, please feel free to write down which strategy. If you're like, that sounds really good to me, write it down. Okay, number 1. And I want to preface this by saying some of these things took me a while to work up to. Like I mentioned, I had a very big block with kind of a lot of these techniques at first, because I didn't understand the benefits of them. So I've done a lot of research to understand them, and now I can't live without them. So number 1, coming from a place of abundance and gratitude. Does anybody here keep a gratitude journal? I'm gonna scroll through here. Okay, all right. So, okay, amazing, fantastic. If you do use it, in the chat, can you just write down for me like how often type out for me, how often you use your gratitude journal. Okay, so here's how a gratitude journal works for me. I always back not too long ago, I read the Rachel Hollis book. I think it was like Girl Wash Your Face. And one of her things was write in the gratitude journal 10 things every day that you're grateful for. And I was like, cool, I like that. That sounds good. So I started to try and write 10 things down every single day. And then I was like, oh my God, I don't have 10 things today. And I just kind of stopped because it felt very overwhelming to me. And I was just like, I don't know. I was like literally writing down like, I like my socks. And I thought it was kind of like weird. And then I was like, okay, that's too much. Why don't I try writing down 3 things every night before bed? And I started doing this back in January, around the time of the new year, because I was ready to kind of turn over a new leaf. Ever since then, it has become a non-negotiable part of my day. And I find the more I use it, the more I look for things in my day. And this is not to say that, this is not about belittling how you feel, because it is so important to feel what you're feeling. This is the point of a gratitude journal, is not to be like, well, I have it better than Susie down the street, so I shouldn't be sad. That's not what it's about. It's about finding those little things in your life that actually bring you joy. And you start to look for them a little bit more, and you start to notice them a little bit more. And then you start to recognize that, hey, like sometimes stuff is really hard, but sometimes it's really good. And I find too, when you can go back and read some of the stuff that you've written down before, you're kind of like, oh look, Kelly, you printed it out already. That's amazing. Yeah, and it helps you because during times like COVID, or whenever you're going through a difficult time, the brain again wants to like go back to that regular habit of like feeling down, feeling sorry for ourselves, which has its place. Don't get me wrong, I've gone through plenty of those. It's an important thing to do. But then it's also like, you know what? Yes, I've lost a lot recently, but I've also gained so much. So for example, 3 Good Things app, I'm going to look that up. That looks amazing. For example, make a list of all of the amazing things that have happened during this COVID time. So for me, I was thinking about it and I was like, I don't have to commute right now, which is 3 hours of my day. And that has been amazing. Like I actually have so much more time now than I did before. There's no more like hustling the kids out the door by 6:30 every morning. There's no, we have a little bit more time for connection as a family. I've actually made more time for people in my life to have Zoom calls and do those kinds of things that I might not necessarily have done before. It also kind of like, it's kind of nice to not have to be places and like be pushing and like going to that party and going to this party and 17,000 birthday parties for your kids. And so it's been nice for me to kind of like slow down a little bit. And as I was writing these things down, I was like, yes, some shit sucks. Not gonna lie, there's a lot about it that sucks, but there's some things that have actually been really beautiful. Okay, good. Thumbs up, amazing. Number 2, meditate. Again, this is one that I have fought with a really long time. I think about 10 years ago, I read the book 10% Happier by Dan Harris, I wanna say. And that was kind of my first introduction to like, again, I always chalked up meditation to being kind of like this like woo-woo spiritual thing that I wasn't really sure where my place was in all of it. And reading that 10% Happier book, it was like, he was like a newscaster and he had a panic attack. And so he started to introduce meditation into his life. And that's pretty much all I got from it. I was like 21. And I was like, okay. So it's not just like this weird thing. It's actually, it's legit. Didn't do anything with it for 10 years. And then in the last, I want to say, since I had kids, I started finding I needed some moments for myself to slow down. And I had a lot of racing thoughts. I always do. I have anxiety. So racing thoughts is like a very big thing for me. So I decided to give it a try. And then I stop trying because I was failing at it, because I wasn't doing it right and I couldn't clear my mind. So I must suck at it and it's stupid. So I just put it on the back burner. Anybody do that before with meditation? Yeah. Yeah, you're not alone. Don't worry. So I was like, okay, let's do some research into meditation. I'm going to give this the old college try. So I did some research, and I found that studies, like scientifically proven studies, show that meditation reduces stress, improves sleep, which is a big one for me, improves focus, which is another big thing for me, and helps to quiet the mind and be more present. I'm like, great, cool, that sounds amazing. Yes, exactly, quiets my mind. Yeah, me too, it quiets my mind. So, but it still was a very big challenge for me. I have ADD, and like literally diagnosed. And so for me, the thought of sitting anywhere for more than a minute and a half can feel very overwhelming, and never mind like completely shutting off my brain and living in this like Zen state where it's like just like nothingness in my brain. So, and like I said, yeah, I was so worried about doing it wrong or failing or getting bored, because that's another big thing for me as well. When I started to dig into it a little bit more, I realized that the really cool thing about meditation is that it doesn't have to be any particular way. Meditation is one of those things that you can do it however you want to. So for example, and this was when actually, Ashley, you kind of helped me, this piece click into place for me, was that like for you, your meditation is drumming, and that's how you clear your mind, right? And I was like, oh, it doesn't just, yes, you can sit and you can meditate and like you can do that. That's one way for sure. But it can also be going for a walk and listening to music. It can be having a hot bath and sipping a glass of wine. And it's really about bringing a kind of sense of calmness and stillness to the chatter that's happening in your mind. There are so many amazing, great apps out there that you can, a guided meditation, me too. That's actually how I started, was a guided meditation, because I was like, I don't even know how to do this. I would sit there and be like, I'm thinking about clouds, I think. I don't know, what should I do? So I started with a guided meditation. Now I do them all on my own. So sorry, I took a little bit of a detour there because I saw a really good point. It can also be dancing to your favorite music, like I said, banging on your drums like Ashley does, and just whatever feels good. I want to say this again, and I know I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again after this. Do what feels good to you. In meditation, I think we get so caught up on the way that we see it presented, like in the media, or we think the way that it should be, and we don't do it because we're afraid we're going to fail at it or that we're not going to be good at it. So do what feels right. As long as you are taking the time to sit, be as present as you can be, and try and quiet your mind, that is meditation, and you are succeeding. You don't have to have a perfectly blank brain. That is not like, for someone like me, I've never achieved that before. I've never had a completely blank mind. What I do is I go on like kind of these, like, I just follow my like, I call her my like inner, my intuition. And she kind of like leads me on these crazy journeys. And it's just like, I just kind of let it happen. So, yes, that's, that was really good. Yes. And the end. So yes, with meditation, it gets, sorry, I got totally sidetracked. I heard my kid crying and I'm like, oh my Lord, what's happening right now? So the thing with meditation too, is it helps to get clear on what you're hoping to achieve by it. So in the workbook as well, I have a little part in there that you can say what you want to achieve. For me, I wanted to just slow my mind down, and I wanted to be a little bit more present. And then the final piece about the meditation is plan out when you're going to do it. For me, I do it before bed. I have a little office here. I come into my office. I have my crystals. I have my binaural beats. And I do that for 5 minutes. And that is another non-negotiable for me. And I can tell, like, if I skip a couple days because I think I'm okay, I can tell when I haven't done it. Okay, number 3. How are we doing for time, Ash? We're good? Yeah, good. Okay, perfect. Number 3, mantras. This one is probably the one I struggled with the most. Who here uses mantras? Okay, a couple. All right. Okay, amazing. Some of you were like, that's okay. I understand because I've been there too. I struggled with the idea of mantras a lot. And I kind of, it felt like one of those things that you read in like a 90s self-help book and you just were like, and it just doesn't, I don't know. So again, I did some research into mantras and their effectiveness. I was actually really blown away by some of the scientific research that had been done around the effectiveness of mantras. So there's this area of your brain called the amygdala. And that's kind of like, this is my understanding of it. I'm not a scientist, but this is how I understand it. There's the area of your brain called the amygdala. This is your action center. That's where your emotions are processed. That's where the fight or flight pattern happens. So what mantras actually do is help to quiet that part of the brain down, because I don't know about you, but when I start to feel really overwhelmed, I actually start to speed up and I start to do more things and I start to try and like frantically do things and I don't do any of them very well. And then I just end up feeling more frustrated than when I started. And I find this to be especially true when I have like 10 minutes to myself. I'm like, I'm going to do everything. And I'm like cleaning and I'm like calling my mom and I'm like doing all these things and none of them get done properly. So mantras, when you use them effectively, they actually help you to take a step back, calm down, like take that area of your brain and just like, so that you can make a more focused and executive decision instead of your emotions taking over and be like, do all the things. That's how my inner voice talks to me. She's really fun. So the cool thing about mantras as well is the more you start to use them, the more you start to believe them. Because I think what I found was the most uncomfortable part of mantras for me was the saying things that I didn't believe. So I would say like, I'm awesome. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm great. No, I'm not. And it felt hard for me to like lie to myself. Do you know what I mean? So I picked, what I started with when I started using mantras is I picked one that like really packed a punch. And for me, that included using swear words, a lot of them. So for example, the first mantra that I really loved was, I fucking rock. And I was like, okay, still don't believe it, but there's a swear involved. So I like it because I love swearing. Swearing helps me in so many ways. So I started there. And then I worked up to another one, I'm a fucking badass. And I was kind of like, yeah, that one feels good. So I would repeat that one to myself. I actually have that one on I want to see if you can see it. I have that one on a wallpaper on my phone, and my mom texted me. So that one, that's the one that like, I really like that one a lot. And then I kind of started working up to one of the more, ones that, because I found the ones too, because I looked up mantras online. Sorry, this is one point that I wanted to make and then I got sidetracked. When I looked up mantras online, a lot of them, again, didn't resonate with me because they're beautiful ones that are like, I am one with the sun and the moon and the stars, and I'm feeling connected to the greater power of the universe. And I thought that was so nice, but it didn't mean anything to me. So again, now I'm so into those and it's a whole thing. But at the time, that's why I needed to start somewhere small. So now my favorite one is, I do enough, I have enough, I am enough. And that one actually, like, that is like my happy place. When I'm having a really tough day, when I'm feeling overwhelmed, when I'm struggling really hard, I say that to, like, literally guys, I say this to myself probably 50 times a day, not even kidding you. And it's become one of those things where it's like a trigger for my brain to know that it's time to slow down because it's become habitual for me. So yeah, that one's my favorite one. I actually have it on a mug because it's like one of those things that I like to remind myself of as often as possible. So how I use them. For me, the most effective time to use them is I wake up in the morning and I choose one that I feel like I'm going to need for that day. I try and do this before my kids are up so that I have time to actually like focus on myself and there's no other noise. And so I take 5 deep breaths and I repeat it to myself 5 times. Then throughout the day, I, when I'm feeling overwhelmed, I remember to stop. And this is hard, guys. This is like a muscle that you have to work, because again, our natural tendency is to keep going faster and faster and faster and faster. So it takes a lot of awareness and a lot of skill to take that step back and pause. And I still struggle with this, like a lot. And then, because the other thing that I find is I need to be like cued. So I actually write down my mantras and I put them like on the fridge. I have them on my mug. I have them on my phone. Like they're everywhere, so that kind of doesn't matter where I am in my house. If I'm having a hard moment, I see my mantras. And then if you're not sure which mantra is right for you, Google it. Like Google has, Google has everything. So if whatever mood or particular situation you're needing help with, put into Google, like angry mindset or mantras for feeling angry. And that they'll come up with a bunch. You find a couple that work for you, write them down, and then put them around your house and just try it. I know it feels weird. I know it feels very uncomfortable, but try it. And then if that one doesn't work, give another one a try. And just like I said, it's like food, right? You got to keep trying recipes. You might not like one type of cuisine, so you try a different one and you find that that one is the one you love. And then maybe you don't like that one anymore because you're really more into Italian, like whatever, right? So you just kind of keep trying. Okay, and number 4 is creating a if-then plan for when unhelpful or negative things happen in your life. So does anybody know what I'm talking about when I say if-then planning? Yeah, couple, amazing. So this one, so I am a big fan of Mel Robbins. I really looked up to her as a coach, but I really like some of the strategies that she uses as well. She has a TV show now, which is really weird, and I don't like that part, so I kind of like compartmentalize that. But she's so, I just really like the way that she puts things. So she said that researchers at Columbia University found that if you make an if-then plan, your success rate of achieving your goals goes from 39% to 91%. And the reason why this works so well is because you create almost like a cue for yourself to remember, like, this, if this happens, then I'm going to do this. And you're planning, because I think the big thing too is that things are going to happen, right? Like life is never perfect. Things are always hard. Challenges are always going to come up. So having a plan really makes sure that you're set up for success. So for example, in the workbook, I have a couple different areas for you to write these in. There's a couple of different cues. The ones that I kind of focus on are, if I feel blank, then I will blank. So for example, if I begin to feel that I'm taking on too much and I begin to feel overwhelmed, then I will take 10 minutes to sit down and prioritize what actually needs to get done and what can wait, or what I can delegate out. Another one is, if I start to feel like I'm not worthy, I will remember my mantras and repeat them to myself as I breathe. And having those, and this is another great one, that if you can write them down and put them up again around your house, because it helps, right? We have a billion thousand things on our mind at any given time, especially right now. And it's hard to, like, you do this work, because it's funny, she actually has a workbook that I did when I listened to her book not too long ago, and I was looking at it recently, and I didn't put these if-then statements up around me. And I was like, oh yeah, I did have a plan for if I start to feel overwhelmed again, but I wasn't paying attention to it. So having those kind of reminders around your house. I know you're like, so I'm just going to cover my walls in paper then. Is that what we're doing? Because we're putting everything up on the fridge, we're putting it on the walls, but it helps. Okay, any questions? No? Good? Amazing.
There was a question up here.
Oh, yes.
Let me just see if I can find it again. Sorry. It was, when do you say the mantra? During overwhelm or at any time?
Both. I find them particularly helpful during overwhelm, but I feel it's one of those things that I think the more you repeat it to yourself, again, the more you believe it. So I try and do them too. And actually there's sometimes I implement them when I'm meditating as well. Like if I'm having a hard time quieting my mind, I repeat the mantras to myself then too. And then again, in the morning when I wake up, I try and say them to myself 5 times. And it depends on, you know, sometimes you need a couple, and it really depends on what your situation is, what you're feeling, where you're at. But that's a great question. Okay, amazing. So finally, the final bucket, you're so welcome. The final bucket is the implementation. So you have all of these strategies and you're like, cool, awesome. Wow, that's a lot of information. So as I mentioned at the beginning, it's important to pick one thing that resonates the most with you and implement that. So again, Mel Robbins has this really cool analogy, brick by brick to make it stick. So imagine your mindset as like a big Lego wall, right? I have kids, so Lego is kind of the best brick analogy that works for me. And imagine each thing that you're doing is contributing to this big wall. Because when you look at this big wall, you're like, oh my God, this is never going to get done. This is way too much. And you get overwhelmed. And our natural inclination is to be like, forget it. It's not worth it. But when you look at it one little brick at a time, you start to build that wall. And the more you do the more you're building that wall. But you're not thinking about the big wall. You're thinking about what brick you can do first and what brick you can put down first. And then that really helps to take that overwhelm and bring it down here. And you're like, cool, today I'm going to say one mantra to myself, just one. I'm going to say it once, and I'm going to say it as soon as this call is over, and then I'm going to go about my day. And then maybe tomorrow you're like, I think tomorrow I'm going to have a mantra and maybe I'll try and meditate, maybe. No pressure. And then the more you add those things on, the more you're contributing to your overall mindset health. And then there's planning. And this is I think where I was challenged a lot, because I'm like, I don't have time to plan. I don't have time to do that. I'm just going to do it whenever I want to do it, and it's going to be fine. But that's not an effective strategy, because we don't have, like, our time is very valuable, right? And it's important to carve out 10 minutes for yourself. I like to do it usually on Sundays, because that's when, like, I feel like I'm setting myself up for the week. Write down what you're going to do this week to work towards a healthier mindset. And again, maybe on Wednesdays, you're going to meditate for 2 minutes. Maybe that's what your thing is for that week. That's it. You don't have to do any more. You don't have to do everything. You just want to meditate, or you decide that you want to write one mantra, and that's the thing you're going to do this week. And then write down kind of like, because the thing as well that's worth mentioning at this point is a lot of these things, unless they become a habit, they're hard to keep going because your brain's already overtaxed. So when you pick time in your day that you're going to do certain things, like again, for me, I wake up, do my mantras, I meditate before bed, and I gratitude journal before bed. Those I know that I'm going to achieve that day. And I know that then I'm doing 3 things to help me get towards a healthier mindset. And then I don't have to think about it. I don't have to be like, well, my kids are eating dinner, so I'm just going to quickly scribble down 3 things that I'm grateful for: coffee, socks, and underwear. Right? Like it's not achieving that goal that you want to achieve. So pick those times. Those are the times that work for me. I think a lot of people like getting up early and doing their meditation in the morning, and setting their day off that way, which I think is beautiful. I've tried that a few times, but I end up just falling back asleep. So that doesn't work for me, but you have to do what works for you. And then after all of that is said and done, in a couple of weeks, come back to your workbook. And I have a page in there that's kind of like what I'm calling a regroup, and answer all of those questions again, write them all down, and then compare to your baseline and see how far you've come. Because I'm telling you, you are achieving more than you think you are. We are so friggin' hard on ourselves because we want to be the best at everything. We want to do everything. We want to be everything. And unless we reach that unattainable goal, we figure that we're crap at everything. And we're not. Like, we are, and I'm sorry, I see that there's a little girl here, and I'm going to swear for 1 sec real quick, but we are fucking badasses, okay? And I know you're like, all right, girl, settle down. You're like, you're out of control here, but I'm serious. Like everything that you're doing right now, the fact that we're surviving through this crazy pandemic, we are surviving. And if we're not thriving, that's okay. You don't have to thrive right now. You can survive. You can try and make yourself a little bit happier. You can take care of your family, and that's enough. You are enough. And I will say that until I am like blue in the face. You are enough. Okay? Can you like wave at me if you hear me? You're like, yeah, girl, okay, I'm enough. No, you are enough. Kelly's laughing because yeah, I tell her that all the time. Okay, so that's the end of my my mindset talk. I'm all riled up because I'm like super passionate about women taking credit for all of the shit that we do. We think that we have to do these things. We think that we're like, by doing these things, that we're just meeting the bar of like, we're doing okay. But the stuff that you do to show up for yourself every day, to show up for your family, to show up for your job, whatever it is, it's amazing. Like everything you do, even if you just get out of bed, that is huge. Okay. This is hard. Everything is hard right now. And everything that you do to contribute to your wellness, to your family's wellness, to anything else is incredible. And it's an incredible feat. And I want you to like take a moment to be like, yeah, it's all right. I'm okay. And yeah, I'm like,
no, that was awesome, Lisa. I know the feeling of when you're very passionate about something, about kind of like letting your mind travel. So I just want to take a minute to sum up some of your thoughts for you.
yes.
Because like you said at the beginning and you said throughout, so people don't feel overwhelmed, because this is one of the biggest reasons that people run away from change, is start small. And I want to echo what Christine said as well, because we preach this a lot with Royally Fit, is you pick one thing. So whether that's a mantra, a meditation, the if this, then that, pick one thing and stack it on a daily habit. So whether that daily habit is having your morning coffee, whether that daily habit is your snack time, it is, I always pair it with food, kind of like you're saying.
Me too.
It's your lunch, it's your brushing your teeth, it's anything you want to stack it. So pick one thing before you guys get overwhelmed. Pick one thing that resonates with you and stack it onto a daily habit so that you guys are more apt to do it. And then I want to take it a step further, and I want you guys to reward that. So if you want to make something a habit that sticks, you want to reward yourself for said habit. So it could be as simple as putting, like, just like we do with kids, like a star on a calendar.
That works for
and
me.
It's like, And so like every day you do it, you put a star there, you guys give yourself money, you go out to get a Tim Hortons, you do something, but try to make it immediate. Don't go and then be like, oh, well, tomorrow I'll make sure I do this. Or if I do this 7 days in a row, I'll gift myself with this. That doesn't work. If you want something to stick, and you guys really, because your mindset is like a muscle, and you gotta flex it, you gotta work it. And
Yep.
if you just do it irregularly, it's not going to be the same. So pick something that Lisa said. Make sure you guys check out the, before we get off here, you guys check out the workbook, pick something, try it out. If it doesn't feel right, go to something else that Lisa suggested, and then stack it on top of a daily habit, and then reward yourself for that habit.
I love it. And if I know we only have until 9, so if you have any questions at all after this, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm most active probably on Instagram, so you can reach me at spit up and sippy cups. And yeah, I am like, I was just looking at how many people like we're here right now, and there's 52 of you here. And like, I just want to tell you one more thing before we sign off. The fact that you're showing up means you have a step in the right direction. You've done something to help your mindset. And that's huge, because showing up is half the battle. It's one thing to sign up for something, which is great. And then it's also to show up for it. So I want to commend you guys for coming, for listening. Like I could cry. I'm so happy to have you all here. I can't believe that 50 people came to like hear me talk. So thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I love you all. Yes. And please feel free to reach out to me afterwards if you have any questions, or if you want to like chat a little bit more. I'm happy to connect.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa, for coming on and doing this. And you know that I love you. I think you're amazing. I've already gotten private messages from people saying that they are loving this and they think that you're amazing. So thank you so much. And like Lisa was saying, Thank you everyone for showing up here at 8 a.m. So we have a lot of people sign up for our things and not everyone shows up. So it means a lot to us that you show up because it's really cool to actually be talking to people and not just Lisa and I be talking heads. So it's really nice to actually chat with people and have the conversation going on the side as well. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but it's snowing outside.
It's snowing.
Like, what better place to be than on a Zoom call? Because I don't want to be hanging out outside right now.
God.
So
yeah. Oh, and happy Mother's Day.
Yes.
That was happy Mother's Day for those celebrating. Yeah, good times. It'll be, enjoy a glass of mimosa or something.
Yeah, I know
or
some of
have
you. Yeah, have a nap. I know some of you weren't able to download the workbook. I'm more than happy to email it to you. So if you weren't able to get it, please email me. And if you guys were on your phones or iPads and you couldn't download it, I can send it directly to your email. And then that way you guys have it on hand and you can print it off like Kelly already did and get cracking on it.
She's working on it today.
Yeah. She was eager beaver. I love it. Mm-hmm. Amazing. So like we said, thank you so much. But I also put Lisa's Instagram in here if you guys want quickly before I end the meeting. Sorry, you guys can go on. You can find that. Follow her if you guys have any follow-up questions. And yeah, that's all. That's all.
Amazing. Folks. That's all, folks.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Hope you guys have an amazing weekend. Stay warm. Has it ever snowed in May since any of you have been like alive? I've never seen this before.
It snowed in May. It snowed in May, but it's friggin' bullshit right now. It's like insult on injury. All we want to do is go outside, and it's like, are you kidding me, Mother Nature? Like, you're already giving us enough BS. Screw off. Screw off.
I'll be out there with my coffee and my book later being like, this is fine. This is totally fine.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Amazing. Yeah, take away the mantras for sure. For sure. And do ones that feel good for you. So awesome. Thank you so much, ladies. If you guys need anything else, I can stay on here for a couple seconds. I'm going to put myself on mute because believe it or not, I have to do a vocal warm-up before I start class. And I don't want you guys to hear me because that would sound like a dying bird. So I'm going to put myself on mute and then I'll keep it up in case you guys need any of the things. And I will see you guys later.
Thanks, Ash. Does anybody have any questions before? No? Amazing. Oh, so happy to see all you guys.
You did a good job.
Thank you.
I'm like,
that was, sorry, go ahead.
I'm like, I don't do any of this stuff. I need to start doing it.
It's hard.
I don't know about anybody else. Oh gosh, yes. But I think like a lot of you guys said, like a routine, like sometimes that's key, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That time that you actually do it. Like you said, you do it before bed. That's a great idea with some of this stuff. So.
Well, it's hard, right? Because like, and I find that any habit that I've ever tried to implement in my whole life, like I'm like, no, I'm going to do that for sure. And then I have like a list of 75 things that I'm going to do in my day. And it's like, no, that's not going to happen. So I just like, for me, the three, like I said, the three like non-negotiables are the mantras, the meditation, and the gratitude journaling. And it's all stuff that I fought. Like I had a really hard time implementing them into my day because I just felt like, I was just like, how is this going to help me? Like I didn't understand how it was going to benefit me. So that's why I did research into it because I was like, sometimes before you start on a journey, you just need to have like what you're doing is going to be effective. Right.
Yeah.
Because no, go ahead.
Remember how you said like, sometimes when you do have time, you feel like you got a million things that you want to do. And then you're so unproductive because you just got so much shit you're thinking that you got to do. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I find that whenever my kids are napping, well, Oliver doesn't nap, but like when one of them is napping, I'm like, I try and do all of the things. And then that was like when they were younger, like babies. But now I'm kind of like during nap time, I'm like, I'm going to sit here and read a book. Like I'm unapologetic about that stuff now because it's like, I just need that time to decompress and like, cause I used to try and do all the things. I'd like half clean a bathroom and then like half clean out the fridge. And then there was more mess than when I started and it was the whole thing. So yes, boundaries 100%. I am like, man, I could do a whole talk on boundaries cause that's something that I'm trying to explore more now.
Reevaluating what's important too, right?
Yeah, like, the prioritization.
Is the shit in the basement that's a mess really a priority?
Right.
Oh, who's gonna see it right now? You can't even invite anybody over. Leave the shit downstairs. It's fine. It's not gonna hurt anybody.
John would be so mad that you said that. He's like, because my husband's not working right now, so it's funny because like our roles have kind of reversed a little bit. So I'm like, I work full time and then I'm doing this my business on the side, and so he's kind of like, he's the manager of the household right now, and so for him, like, having a clean space is a priority. Is that you?
Oh yeah. Oh shoot. Yeah. Oops.
No, that's okay. I'm just watching a video of myself.
I'm uploading my YouTube channel.
I rewatch my Insta stories all the time. Don't worry. I'm like, oh my God, that was so cute that I did that. Bye, Kim. Thank you so much for coming. Yeah. Well, oh yeah. So he's like, he wants things to be tidy now. And I'm like, John, I literally don't give a shit about what the house looks like right now. That is like the least on my priority list. So we kind of had to find like a happy medium, because it's not fair to like, it's his priority. So I'm trying to like, okay, so today my task is I have to clean out the fridge. That's what he wants to have done. And I'm like, fine, I will do that today. I can do that.
But that's one thing, right? It's about not overwhelming yourself.
Exactly.
Too, right?
Exactly. Does anybody have any questions? Or like, you can just say hi. You can unmute yourself now. And you don't have to stay. Or are some of you for the class next? No? No. Oh, okay. Okay. I wasn't sure. I'm like, oh, you guys are staying to chat. And you're like, no, I'm here for the class. Like, get over yourself.
So remember how you guys were talking about like mantras and stuff? And even like with our kids, like, I feel like our kids have a hard time growing up too, right? Like,
bye, Tiffany. Thanks for coming.
Are they as, they're going to worry? Are they good as like their best friend? Are they going to compare themselves? So I was mentioning, I found these affirmation cards. I don't know if you've heard of them.
Yeah. I love power. Yeah.
I just got them the other day, but they're supposed to be amazing. And you use them with kids, and it's helping kids obviously to, say those positive affirmations and learn that they are good enough. Right. So I'm super excited to see what these are like.
There's also a girl in Durham who does affirmation cards, and it's they're called Glow Kiddo Glow, and I ordered them about a month ago, and they're really cute. Yeah, so like any form. So these, I just wanted to show these two. These are the affirmation cards that I use for myself. So
what brand are they?
It's just called Affirmators. I just got them on Amazon. I think it was like $17, and they're really like, here's an example of one. So I pulled a couple before I did the thing today. And so this one says trust. And it says, I trust that everything will be okay in the end, partly because I know in my gut, but also because it's way more fun to live with trust and confidence than to be a defensive wiener. And I was like, yes, I love that. Because it's just like, like it's just I like a little bit of cheekiness. So these ones I really like. Taylor from Itty Bitty Beauty Bar told me about them, and so now I pull them almost every day. I pull like 3 a day, and those are the ones that resonate with me, because again, I was trying to kind of like, there's some out there, what's the one, Gabby Bernstein, The Universe Has Your Back. I think that one's a fairly popular one as well, but they didn't resonate with me at the time. So these ones have been like, they're my vibe. Do you guys use affirmation cards? No. Yeah, I know. I know you do, Sarah. They're, I had to like slowly work my way into it. Like, I'm still navigating that world of like spirituality and intuition and all of that, which has been really exciting for me. So, which one's, Jacqueline? Oh yeah. Oh, $12.95. Damn it. I spent 17. I must have bought them when we were at the peak of like COVID, and everybody was like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? So now that was like, you have 6 decks, 6 of them? That's amazing. I love that. Do you use them every day? Yeah, you can talk now.
I'm just gonna take myself off mute.
Yeah.
No, we did for a long time use them every day, but we haven't been recently. We should start again.
Right. Yeah. I know it's hard, right? And like, I find too with using them with my kids, sometimes they're in the mood for them, and other times they're like, Mom, I just want to play. And I'm like, no, like, tell me, like, let's have an affirmation. Let's sit in a circle and hold hands. And they're like, no, I want to go beat Thor up. So can we do that later? Like,
mine are the opposite. Mine, I'll say, let's pick 2 or 3, and then we'll do those 3, and then they want another one, and another one, and another one. And I'm like, okay, we love ourselves. We're done. Time for bed.
Yeah, time for bed now. Thanks.
Yeah.
Before bed, we always do. I always ask the girls what they're thankful for, and then I always ask them what they like about me and what I like, and then I tell them what I like about them.
Oh, that's so cute. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
That's
mm-hmm. Now,
like that a lot.
Mila's version is like, what is she? Mila, what do you say that you like about mom? My hugs. Like the 3-year-old's version is
right.
so like, right?
Yeah.
I'm a kindergarten EC, so we do that sometimes with our class as well. We go,
Yes.
I love that.
It's
That's
just
so cute.
teaching them that it's okay to tell people also like what they like about them, not just about themselves, but reaching out to others to let them know what they like about them, whether it's personalities or that sort of thing.
Right. Oh, I'm going to ask Oliver. I'm wondering, I want to take a guess at what he's going to say. I have boys, and all of a sudden they've been like obsessed with my boobs. And I'm like, why? And they're like, no, because they're big. And I'm like, what is that weird? What do you? So that's probably what he'll say. And it'll be really uncomfortable. Okay. Ashley said we have to get off now. Okay.
Love you guys.
Thank you so much, ladies.
Bye.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Thanks for
Bye.
coming.
Thank you.
But have an amazing weekend. And talk to you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye. Mwah. Bye.